Welcome to my channel. I'm Jennifer, the artist and creator behind Delirium Boutique, and I thought I would go over a little bit of my process behind paintings like these. I get asked this a lot, but today we're going to make this painting, and we are going to use a variety of supplies including palette paper, 10 by 10 inch canvas, acrylic paint, a cup with water, a towel or a rag, an assortment of paint brushes. The actual paint colors that I'm using are Ultramarine Blue, bright aqua green, burnt sienna, magenta, violet, Mars black, titanium white, bright green permanent, brilliant yellow green, raw sienna, turquoise, and yellow ochre. These paints can be found in the description below if you're trying to follow along. Okay, so let's get started. I have my setup all ready to go. My brushes are ready. My palette is ready with all my paints. We are going to be inspired by a magazine. The magazine is called Spectacular Universe, and it has a lot of photographs of cosmic art, so it's really helpful if you're not knowing where to start with what to paint. How do I paint a galaxy? I need a reference. This is a great magazine that I've used for this. I like to start with dry brushes and just putting a little paint on my brush without a lot of water for this technique. So I'm going to go in about a third of the way down on a diagonal, like that little triangle, to really get that part of the purple universe. The other side will be black, but we're going to start with the violet. I'm dipping my brush in there and I am scrubbing into the canvas in these circular motions to get that filled up. And again, we're using about a third in a triangle fashion on the bottom left hand corner. Here I'm adding a touch of black to my violet paint. I really needed it a bit darker to go for the color I'm looking for, so I'm just mixing that up and I'm going to layer up right on top. For this piece, we're going to be working in a lot of layers to build depth and dimension. I've washed my brush really good and I'm drying it with my towel, and we're getting ready to add black on that remainder of the white space of the canvas. So we're gonna dip into our black paint and scrub into the canvas just like we did with the first first portion. Again, this video has been sped up just because this is work in layers, and it made for a very long, I think it was going to be something like an hour and a half long video. So I really wanted to kind of speed it up to make it a little more manageable to sit through. Now I'm getting really close to that violet with the black, and I'm going to start blending by gently doing circular motions, a little bit overlapping that violet. You really want to make sure that things are pretty dry, otherwise you might lift some paint that you had before. Sometimes it doesn't blend right, so you really want to make sure these layers are relatively dry between you adding more. And here I am getting ready to let this dry so we can build up on these layers again. So now that that's dry, I'm adding more of that darkened purple, that darkened violet, to go over that in circular motions and brushing into small circles into the canvas. I started to get a little bit of what I call a blemish there. You can kind of see that little circle I keep trying to go over. That's from not waiting for it to dry all the way. And then I just lifted some of that paint from the previous layer, so I'm just leaving it alone and going back over the other side with that black paint. Here I'm going to be tilting my canvas to really look for the wet spots so I know which spots are dry and which spots are not yet dry. And thank goodness our canvas is dry. So I'm going to be looking at my reference and starting to put in some of that turquoise, and I'm going to dip my brush in there so that it's not too saturated. I'm brushing it off on the paper and on my towel just to pick up some color and start to scrub it pretty much in that corner, and eventually I will move that out by that diagonal where we have the violet and the black intersecting. And then I'm going to bring it up towards the left and curl back around at the top. And I'll let you guys watch that here. Here I am taking that turquoise and pushing and pulling it out. Pushing and dragging it out. Next, I'm adding a little bit of that green in the upper right-hand corner, and I'm gonna trail it down, keeping mostly to the right. I'm gonna make it trail down to that little blue piece in the right-hand corner. I'm putting in some magenta over there by the purple. My reference shows that. And later I'll be adding some of that ultramarine blue there, but right now I'm just working on the magenta part. Next, I'm going to be taking some of that yellow ochre, and I'm really going to be dragging it down gently through tapping, which is the same thing we've been doing throughout, circular motions, gentle tapping, to kind of put in that gaseous looking cloud. Mixing a little bit of that white to that yellow ochre to put a little highlight on top of that yellow cloud that we just made. I'm looking to kind of add some depth with that yellowish cloud by adding some raw sienna, and then I will bring in some burnt sienna to kind of really give it some darkness and some depth there. It's nice when you have a light tone, a middle tone, and a darker tone. I think that really helps. As promised, I'm pulling in that ultramarine blue over there by that purple. Just going based off of my reference, it looks a little more blue, so going over that purple will really give it a nice blue violet. Here I'm taking a little bit of the turquoise with some white to add some of this highlight above where we already put some turquoise and behind that gaseous cloud. It'll really brighten it up and make it pop a little bit. Next, I'm taking that very bright green, that yellow green, and I'm going in where we had put the light green, and I'm kind of lightening that up and going again towards that blue in the lower corner. I also added a touch of it in the other corner, just because it seemed to show up in the reference, and I'm finding pieces of it from the reference and adding that in. I really wanted to pull in some more brightness into this gaseous cloud, so again I add a little more white to that yellow ochre to brighten it up. I'm using that raw sienna and that burnt sienna to go over by the green and put some more clouds, gaseous clouds over there in the right hand corner and in spots that I notice in my reference. I also noticed in the photo that the stars kind of look pink, some of them pink with these white dots inside of them. So we're going to take that magenta, mix it with some white, and start putting some pink stars throughout on the canvas. Unfortunately, my camera stopped recording, in the middle of that, but we're not too far behind. I will show you a little bit more with the stars. I began to use a pink paint pen, acrylic paint marker, to put in some more pink dots by the stars. And I also have a white Posca pen. It's 0.7 millimeter bullet tip. To put in the stars, and I'm putting those dots, some of them on top of the pink dots, the bigger pink dots, and then I have some stray white dots as well, and I'm making like a little star by pulling out, making it look like a cross type of thing. And we are almost done. I know this has been a long video, and it was even longer before I made it faster. But here's our finished product. Thank you guys for watching. And please don't forget to comment, share, like, and subscribe. Thank you. Bye.